Audio Jungle.
What's up, guys? Mike Penta here with the Mind Gym Podcast, and today I have my guest, Adam Greenberg. Adam is a former professional athlete, an author, an entrepreneur, and he's going to talk about his story as an athlete. He was a professional athlete, had some unfortunate circumstances happen, and now he's taken those unfortunate circumstances and tragic event, I like to call it, I don't know if he does, turn it around to a positive, and he's impacting people's lives in a positive way. So he's going to talk about his story today, and I'm really excited to have him on. I've been friends with Adam for quite a few years now, so I'm pretty excited. Get him on the show and have him talk to you guys, and we'll learn about how things, when shit's not going your way, how you can, change your goal. Sometimes you have this big goal in mind, you want to get there, but sometimes something happens and you have to redirect and maybe come up with a new goal and kind of in the same, type of meaning of that goal, but you have to completely change that goal around and try to do something different with it. So Adam, we're going to talk about your story today. I appreciate you being on, and welcome.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here, and this is awesome what you're doing, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, so the first thing I kind of want to talk about is your athletic background. In high school, you were a basketball player?
Baseball, basketball, and soccer.
And then from there, were you Gatorade Player of the Year in one of those, or you were Athlete of the Year?
It was like a New Haven Register Male Athlete of the Year.
I think that's now it's the Gatorade Player of the Year, I think. Yeah, so back then when we were playing, because I got the same thing. I don't know if it was Gatorade Player of the Year in Connecticut, but I think they changed that around now. They kind of put more of, or someone's giving somebody money. I think that's all that is. So yeah, as you can tell, Adam was a fantastic athlete growing up, and then from there, you decided to further your career with baseball.
Yeah, so I decided basically when I was 13 years old. Well, when I was 5 years old, I wanted to play Major League Baseball, then got into all the other sports, of course, and that was awesome. But when I was 13 years old, I went to the first Connecticut AAU baseball team, which now there's 2 in every town almost.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I was a part of the first Connecticut AAU team, and making that team was awesome because it was the best of the best in the state.
Yeah.
But we went out to Iowa, and we had the national championship, and we actually won the national championship, went undefeated, beat the team from California who actually had won like the Little League World Series the year before, all the same guys. So what was cool about it, and this is the mindset, and then we'll get into that more later, it wasn't just the fact that we won. I made the all-tournament team.
Yeah.
But to me, how I internalized it was, that's an all-American team.
Yeah.
I'm as good as anyone in the country, whether it was true or not.
Yeah.
You almost have to just kind of convince yourself every step of the way. So that when I was on that stage is when I said to myself, I'm going to dedicate more time into the sport of baseball and really have that be the thing that I'm going to focus and make sure I attain my goal.
That's awesome. So, I didn't know that you actually preferred baseball over everything else, but that's pretty cool. So from there, you went and you got a scholarship, or you got recruited by a bunch of schools, or?
Yeah, so same thing back in the day. The recruiting process was a little different. There was only a couple real showcases that you could attend.
Yeah.
So I did it was the area code games, and it was Team 1 showcase. Those were like the ultimate showcases, and just by going, I ran my 60-yard dash, I threw from the outfield, and shagged fly balls and played a game.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it was all about over the course of a few days. And all the scouts, major league and college, were there.
Yeah.
And that was where I was able to kind of at least put myself on the map, and started getting the recruiting letters and phone calls as soon as the recruiting process opened up. I visited Arizona State, Nebraska, Cal Berkeley, and UNC on official visits, and then a bunch of other schools on kind of non-official visits.
Yeah.
And then picked UNC as my home.
Yeah, so you went to UNC for 4 years. You went 3?
Yeah.
Oh.
So with baseball, it's an amateur draft. So you're eligible after your senior year in high school. If you do any post grad years, you're eligible. Or junior college years, you're eligible for the draft again. When you're 21, you're eligible. Or if you're a junior in college. So once you go to college, then you have to be there for 3 years.
Oh, there's a minimum of 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, because I knew that kids get drafted out of high school and they could choose to take the offer or not take the offer. So you're eligible. Where'd you wind up in the draft?
So I ended up going in the 9th round of the draft to the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
And it was a dream come true, as you can imagine. But at the same time, the Cubs were one of 3 teams that I didn't talk to during the recruiting process.
Okay.
So my junior year, I spoke to and filled out profiles and interviews with almost every other team. So my advisor, who you have to call them advisors before you sign professionally, and then they become your agent. But my advisor said the Cubs are not going to be a team that drafts me because I was too small for their what they were type of players that they're looking for, and they had a bunch of first round and second round outfielders in their system.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the best place for me to go and have a chance at getting to the big leagues per se. So when draft day came and the Cubs called, it was like, oh my God, this is awesome, but wait, the Cubs?
Yeah. So like now that you know that, because that could really mess somebody up. If you got your advisor telling you that this isn't probably the best team for you, so let's not even really worry about it, and then they draft you, now there's got to be an oh shit moment. As excited as you are, you just been told that they have so many guys that this might not really benefit you very much. So where do you go from there? Like so. How do you just tell yourself, okay, keep grinding forward and who cares? Is it still that high and just screw it, I don't care, I got drafted? Or did you say, okay, now I need to really set myself and focus and be better than anyone else out there so I can get the call?
Yeah, it was a combination of all those things. I mean, when I got the call, my immediate, as I said, it was I'm ecstatic. But then the reality of, wait a second, it's the Cubs, and I understood the situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's 8 million people that play baseball every single year. And there's only 750 major league roster spots. So you start thinking the mathematics behind it. It's an almost impossibility just to get there.
Yeah. The less than 1%,
So for me, with the Cubs and the opportunity, it was like, okay, I could go back to UNC Chapel Hill for my senior season. Where
can you go? You can go back. You can. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like the football or basketball draft where once you declare,
you're there.
You lose your eligibility and you're in. So if you don't get drafted, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So they call it the amateur player draft.
That's cool. That's how it should all be.
Or
you think guys just try to get out more?
No, they're actually trying to. I was actually at UNC Chapel Hill the other day, and hence the. Just representing a little bit. But I was talking to one of the coaches, and he said that they're trying to change baseball where it's a minimum of 2-year requirement to go to college. So so they're trying to say
no longer can you be drafted out of high school.
Yeah, that's what they're shooting for.
I don't know. I still have my. Even it will kind of sidetrack because now that you're a professional athlete, so you were in that situation with contracts and everything. I just don't know. I'm a firm believer that college kids should get paid. I don't know if there's a system that should be able to have. I think college sports will be a lot better. Kids will stay a lot longer. I would love to see. I mean, the college game. Just college sports, I think, are so much more entertaining because the kids still have so much drive and want it. And yeah, professional sports is fun, but I think the game is, even though it's probably not pure, I mean, there's probably a lot of kids getting paid out there that aren't, you're not supposed to be. I'm not, but that's the reason why I think they should get paid. But the game is so pure, and you get to see these kids really still compete for the next level. They're not competing for a job per se, they have to go and do it every day. They're competing to get to that next level, and the game still looks so pure and it's so fun to watch. I would love to see younger kids stay in the game a little bit more, but I would like to see them get paid because, again, their schools are benefiting from them, and I don't care. And I'm going to tell you, if you could, not you, but anyone who's listening, college kids, they don't get a free ride, okay? Yes, they don't have to pay for college, but it's a full-time job when you're a college athlete. I played Division I college football. It's your life. You don't get to have a regular life like everybody else, and you're making the school a lot of money too. So if anyone's out there and wants to argue with me on that point, I'll debate that all day long.
I'll actually take it to a little step further because I'm not going to disagree with you by any means. But football and basketball are full rides. In almost every other sport, the non-revenue sports, there's no full rides.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you say you got a scholarship and everything's paid for, well, it's a full-time job whether you're at a full ride or not.
Or you're a walk-on with no money, with getting no money. Absolutely.
But it's just the whole concept of, at least where I stand, I am in agreement that you can say they're giving you money to go to school, so that's your payment.
Yeah.
And now that universities are like $50,000 to $75,000 a year, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I do understand that. But when you're getting 10% scholarship and there's 50 or 40 guys on a baseball team, and you really can't go and make money,
that's where I think it kind of gets, like I said, we're kind of off topic, but that's where it kind of gets a little, I'm not saying that college athletes should be paid millions of dollars, but, I know college athletes who struggle to eat, because they can't get a job. I mean, just to get a job as a Division I college athlete, there's so many things you have to go through to get that job. You have to go through clearing, with the NCAA. You can't work as a Division I college athlete. Division II too sometimes. So I, just throw that out there. But we'll get back on topic. Sorry. So you went and you declared and you got drafted in your kind of your junior year, and now you're started in what? Single A?
Well, I'll finish the reason why I chose to go and sign the contract was because at the end of the day, I was going to get a jersey. Yeah. It was my gloves, my cleats, and my bat. And no matter what, if I got the opportunity, then I had to take advantage of it on the field. Yeah. So it didn't matter, it might be an easier path. There's no easy path. There's no such thing. Yeah. So as long as I was going to be given the opportunity to play, then it was up to me on the field. So I was putting stock in myself and not my draft status or how much money I was being given. So when I signed, I went to Lansing, Michigan, and that was a low A team. We were making $850 a month. For 5 months, we only get paid when you're actually playing, and I was getting $20 a day on the road for meal money. So that is not awesome. And then I was living in a host family's house with no air conditioning. I lived in the basement in the middle of summer in the Midwest, and no car, so I had to rely on my teammates for a ride everywhere. So it was, and then let alone the 10, 12-hour bus rides and crappy hotels. So I'm trying to paint a picture of. It wasn't awesome, but it was absolutely awesome. Yeah. It was my dream.
That was your dream. That was your goal, and you worked so hard to get to that next level. So we're going to kind of fast forward to you finally get called up to the majors. I mean, is it all the majors, AA?
No, so the minor leagues is comprised of, you have rookie ball, and then you have short season, and then you have low A, and then you have high A, and AA, and AAA, and let alone the winter leagues and international. So each big league team has about six farm teams under them, and then when you get called to the major leagues, that's it. You're on the 25-man roster. You're going, you're in the show.
So you get called up to the Cubs. Yeah. Finally. How many years did it take you to get there?
2002, I was drafted half a season. 2003, 2004, 2005. So 3.5 years.
And you're up.
And I got my call. 24 years old.
So take us through that. I mean, did you get in did you play your first game and get called up, or?
No, so when I got called up, we were playing the Marlins, and Dontrelle Willis was pitching, and I'm a left-hand hitter, and Dontrelle Willis was one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball at that time. So the manager, Dusty Baker, pulled me in the office. He's like, hey, you're not going to play tonight. Just relax, sign your contract. Yeah. They gave me an envelope full of $100 bills, and I'm like, what's this for? And he's like, if you don't want it, just give it back. But this is your meal money. So that's not why you play, but it was like, oh, this is awesome. This is pretty cool.
This is where it's at now.
So I didn't play that night, and the next night was an ESPN nationally televised game. So it was Sunday Night Baseball. It was prime time. It was pretty cool. And the ninth inning came around, and I had my bat in my hands the whole game, and my batting gloves on. And the bench coach yelled down. He said, "Greeny, get a bat. You're hitting for the pitcher." And I'm like.
Yeah, it's already in my hand. It's been in my hand since last night.
So I walk over, grab my helmet, put it on, and past Dusty Baker. He's like, "Hey, go get him, kid!" And got in that on deck circle, and it was like everything kind of just stopped. It's one of those moments where you're in the zone, and I'd worked my whole life for that opportunity just to be there, and I wasn't nervous, which is weird. I was confident. I was ready, and I was there to do my job. Yeah. So I was just excited. So when I got into the batter's box, I just kind of perused the field just to see where everyone was positioning, and then I just knew I had to be aggressive. So it's late in the game, and I was a pinch hitter. So when they
Were you guys winning or losing, or?
we were up. We were either up one or tied. I mean, I actually don't even remember.
Yeah.
I know it was a close game. We were either tied or up one, and then the first guy grounds out, so there's one out, and there I was. And as I said, my goal was to get on base, but it was to be aggressive, and I learned that with my first minor league spring training at bat that I was playing in the big league game. And it was alarming and eye-opening coming in as a pinch hitter and facing the best closers in the game. They're going to come at you maybe hard, and if you're not aggressive and ready for that, then you're going to see nasty breaking balls or split fingers or stuff that's why they get paid the millions of dollars. So I was prepared for whatever he was going to throw.
So you get up to the bat, and this kind of it's surreal. I'm sure it's surreal. I mean, I can only imagine. But then take us through kind of what happens, because this is where this entire people who don't know Adam, who are watching this for the first time or listening to this, is you'll kind of hear where this is all going to tie in now with mindset and changing things up. So talk about what happened.
So basically, I can sum it up in 0.3 of a second.
Yeah.
It'll take me longer than that to explain it, but in 0.3 of a second is kind of where the story's all going. The first 1/10 of a second, as the guy releases the ball, his name is Valerio De Los Santos, he's a left-handed pitcher for the Marlins. He released the ball, and as it's coming towards my head, I had enough wherewithal to say, stay in, don't bail out in case it's a curveball. And now I look stupid bailing out, and it's strike one, and on my first major league pitch. So I stayed in, and then in the second 1/10 of a second, it was like, that's not breaking. So the third 1/10 was get out of the way. And I turned my head towards the catcher, and the ball, 92 mile an hour, caught me right up under my helmet, square on my head. I mean, just exploded. It was a sound and a feeling that I'd never experienced in my life. Immediately, I grabbed my head, and I thought I was holding it together. I thought it split open. My eyes rolled in the back of my head, and I just said 2 words 3 times: stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. And as I went to the ground, I was truly I was scared. I mean, forget the pain, I was scared. I really thought that my lights were going out, and that was it.
I mean, like I said, I'm not going to really go into it further. I mean, you can only imagine. I mean, you paint a pretty good picture of it. You've done it for me, and I've seen it on TV and on the internet. So, I mean, it's a grueling hit. I mean, getting hit in the head at 60 miles an hour with a helmet on isn't anything you want to do. 50 miles an hour, forget about it. You know what I mean? Never mind 97 mile an hour fastball. So now take us through, or talk about what's going on in the next, I'd say, year, a couple years leading up to that, because you do try to make a comeback. But talk about what happened. What did it do to you? Just so people can understand, you didn't just get up and walk back in and say, I'm going to play next week. What happened?
Well, I think it's interesting, because what's important to know is we talked about the numbers and the statistics. 8,750,000. Well, I'm not a big guy. There's never been a professional athlete in my town ever, not a Major League Baseball player. So what drive and desire and determination that it took to, and all the obstacles that I had to overcome, because we didn't obviously get into it because it's a lot. But when I was laying down on the ground and the training staff came over and finally sat me up, and they looked at me and they're asking the basic questions, and they stick up their fingers and they're like, how many fingers? And they're moving their fingers and saying, follow me. But then the next question is the thing that defines, I think, what we're talking about. And hopefully people can kind of understand how important it is, where the mindset comes into play. The question was, where was I 2 days ago? And my response was, I was in the minor leagues and I'm not going back. So when you ask, well, what happened in the days following, immediately I thought I was going to go play the next day. And I was just ready and anxious for that moment. But what ultimately transpired was I had positional vertigo for 2.5 years. I had vision issues that were non-visual. You couldn't see that I had a problem. I had migraine headaches every day. There was a vice grip on my temples just grinding, and then imagine then going on a roller coaster. It was awful. So bending over to tie my shoe, or leaning back, or rolling over in bed, my eyes would shift uncontrollably side to side, and fall over or what have you. So those were the things that really started to impact my mind, my physical body, where I was starting to get nervous about the quality of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, forget it for the first time in my life. This bit was forget about baseball. It was, is
this the rest of my life?
Is this how it's going to be?
Yeah.
And you've had plenty of injuries yourself, so it's hard when you have such a desire and a drive to do whatever you're doing. I don't care what sport or what activity or what job. If that's gone,
yeah,
or the possibility is not going to be there, it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the couple things you have to deal with. One, you don't know if you'll ever play again, and that was your life. I mean, I always talk about the peak. That was it. That's the pinnacle. That's what you were striving for since you were 5 years old. I mean, that was the ultimate goal. You took set a lot of smaller goals to get to there, but you were finally at the summit of where you wanted to be, and now you're like, now what do I do? And not only that, but I mean, people who have dealt with injuries before, I mean, it's, chronic pain is something, if you're dealing with it every day, it's not comfortable, you know what I mean? Whether you have a headache or you have back problems, so that alone, forget the never playing baseball again, just dealing with chronic pain all day, every day. Like, do you really want to live your life like this? It's pretty difficult to have to deal with that. But when you finally got diagnosed and they finally figured out what was going on, were they able to treat you and get you back playing again? And did you because how long did you have to step away from the game for?
21 days. Okay. And that's 21 days because they told me 72 hours symptom free, I could go out and play. Okay. So I put myself in a neck brace, sat in a reclining chair, slept in a reclining chair, got up only to go to the bathroom for 72 hours. Yeah. And I convinced the team I was good. Yeah. And I had to bend over to touch my toes and do a couple jogs and hit a couple balls, and then they cleared me to play. Yeah. And that was probably the worst thing that I could have ever done, because the very next day after I was cleared, went to the team, double-A, like a rehab assignment. Yeah. I had a okay game. I went 1 for 4, drove 8 hours on a bus back to West Tennessee, went to bed, woke up the next morning, rolled over to pick up the phone, and my eyes went uncontrollably side to side. So all of my symptoms came back the day after I was designated. Yeah, I cleared waivers, medically cleared, and then I battled that for basically the rest of the year. And then the following year, just wasn't myself. Got off to a really, really bad start. Didn't know why. I couldn't physically figure it out. Not to mention, I was starting to be mistreated by the management. Yeah. And then about halfway through the season, I asked for my release from the Cubs, and I was just so lost. And then I signed with the Dodgers and finished out the season, but never really figured it out in the batter's box. I mean, I could still play defense, and when I got on, I could steal, and but the batter's box was just a big, huge struggle for me when it was like my sacred ground. That was what I did. Yeah. It was so easy for me. And then it was in 2007 that I went into spring training with the Royals, and they did some vision training testing with me. And the simplest of exercise, I had to take a triangle and put it into the rectangle with 3D glasses and a little remote control. And in addition to a bunch of other things, but the most easy thing to visualize is I took that triangle, I put it in the rectangle, I did all the other exercises, I took my glasses off, and that triangle was 13 steps away from the rectangle. It wasn't even close. So what it showed is my eyes were not converging together. So while I looked fine, you and I are having a conversation, I looked fine, and I could cover one of my eyes and see the numbers or see the letters in front of me.
And they weren't focusing together.
They weren't working together. So now take we can debate it, but one of the hardest things to do in all of sports is to hit a baseball.
I think it is. I played all the way through high school.
And then to now have a ball coming at me and trying to hit it, and I'm not even close to my contact point. Yeah. I hit 209 for the year, and I was like, oh, that's pretty damn good. Yeah. But it was it was a lot of, I mean, the depression and the frustration and the struggles and the grind. And it was like, it would have been so easy to give it up, obviously, at any step of the way. But and I know kind of the whole premise is mindset, attitude. And there was nothing that was going to deter me from getting to my ultimate goal again. But understanding that those little steps and those little things that I need to focus on, like doing my positional vertigo exercises 10 times a day, like doing my vision training, if it was prescribed once a day, 2 to 3 times a day, because always more is better. True or not, but it's just that mindset of I've got to do more, I've got to do more. So every time I was released, every time I had an injury, every time I had a struggle or an ups and downs or what have you, I'd focus on what I could control, and that was my attitude, and the work that I could put in, and not focus on what wasn't happening or what I couldn't control, and just allow the process to happen, because that's life. We cannot control what ultimately is going to happen, but if you don't have the right attitude, well, you're never going to get there. And if you give up, well, it's never going to happen, and then you have regret. And I was just not going to live with regret.
I mean, I always say, only you can control how hard you work. There's so many other things that can get in the way, obstacles, other people, there's so many different things that can affect an outcome, especially, of certain goals. Sometimes it's all about you, but one thing that doesn't change is you can never, it always comes down to hard work, or if you're willing. Success is all about how much work you are willing to put in. Okay, so if you have a individual-minded goal, which is only going to be about you, and you put it up there and you work very, hard at that goal, but if you put in the effort, you're going to most likely achieve that goal if you have this relentless, I don't want to give up attitude. I don't know too many people who aren't successful, or who are successful that don't have that type of attitude. I'm just going to keep working towards that goal. They become obsessive about it. They set smaller goals. They keep working. And it becomes an obsession. If you want to be successful, you have to obsess about the goals that you're trying to achieve. You can't just throw a goal there and then kind of have it on the back burner. You got to prioritize those types of goals. And if that's your goal is to get back to the majors, you've got to do everything you can. And if you have that strong mindset, you're going to really work even harder, because like you said, they may have told you to do 3 or 4, 10 minutes of exercise, you're going to do 20 minutes of exercise, because you're so focused on getting back to that ultimate goal, but you can't control all the other people around you. And that's just, that's just basic. So,
well, the other thing for me is sometimes that success of what that goal is, it manifests itself in other ways. So I think that's the other, we talk so much about, well, whatever you set your mind to and whatever you want to do, it's going to happen. It can happen as long as you keep working at it. Well, of course that's the case, but in the process, you're also creating other opportunities. So we were just talking earlier about people who are ultimately successful, and you see when they're successful, you see what they've accomplished, and you're like, well, there's either he got lucky, or that just fell in his lap, or he's just that good. Well, what you don't see is
the work that went into it in the back end.
That's it.
I was just talking about this with Adam. I do a lot. My goal with this podcast, and I don't get paid for this podcast. Adam's not getting paid to be out here. Our goals are right now to empower people and give people an opportunity to see and listen and get some advice from us that, and people who've gone through different experiences and stuff, and to be, so they can be successful. That's the goal with this podcast, is to get out into the community. I travel to get out there. I work with, different high school teams. I don't ask for pay. Again, it's not about that right now. It's all about trying to get people to kind of see this vision that I have, that they can be successful. I want people to be successful. We live in I don't want to say a terrible world, but it's not that great right now that's going on here. I see a lot of weak-minded people, and that's the reason why I see all this stuff going on. A lot of people negative. People like to drag people down. My goal is to change that. Everyone says one person can't change it, but you can. You can change somebody. If you can change 2 people and you can convince them to change 2 people or help somebody out, and you can convince those 2 people to work with 2 people, you can make a difference being one individual. And that's my goal with this podcast. And I know Adam, which we'll get into, we were talking about his book, but through that experience, like you had mentioned, you had an experience, but there were other opportunities forming around it. So you finally decide to hang it up, but you also decide to make a living trying to help people and athletes. So let's talk about that a little bit. So baseball's over. not over because you were still in baseball a little bit, but you decided to create a company. We're going to talk about Adam, the entrepreneur, right now, called Lurong Living. Talk to us a little bit about that and what it does and what the goal behind that company is and what the goal behind the product is.
Yeah, so after I was injured, obviously it was...
And how the product even came about.
Yeah. So when I was hit in the head, and that's one of the injuries, they wanted to pump me with medication. And I was working with a kinesiologist and a chiropractor who was just like, I wouldn't take that. And he started educating me on whole food nutrition, and how powerful the body is, and the fuel that we put in is directly going to relate to the result that we're going to get back out. But that was foreign language to me because, but I feel like this.
Yeah.
Just prescribe me something. Because that's how we all grew up.
Yeah.
So I started to learn specifically wheat, corn, soy, sugar, dairy, starch, gluten are bad.
Yep.
But I didn't have any reasons necessarily, and I didn't have alternatives. So it was mostly what he was introducing me to was supplementation. So I was taking certain amino acids, help with my mental clarity, my focus, help combat stress, B vitamins because of the cell phone use and being on the computer all the time and just zapping my Bs, and then fish oil for anti-inflammatory properties, multivit, etc. So those were all things that I was taking, and I started to just start feeling better, and that was great. But over the couple of years that I was taking this stuff, my teammates were like, hey, can I take that? And I don't know. You got to ask the doc, and he's going to test you. So, because everyone's body's different. Everyone has different deficiencies and whatnot. So that was my kind of introduction to nutrition. Fast forward to 2009. I just get released by the Reds. They say, you're going to be in the big leagues with us. And the next day I'm released. They're like, just go play. And if you play well, we'll bring you back. So I was going to go play independent ball. 2 weeks into the season, I dove for a ball in independent ball, and I snapped my rotator cuff 90%. And it was at that time that that same doctor, Dr. Michael Leibowitz, introduced me to velvet deer antler. Like, it was just ground down deer antler and put in a capsule. And I had asked my orthopedic just to make sure that it wasn't bad or bad for me. And he did some research and made sure it was good. It has everything that contains that's made up of your joints, your cartilage, your bones, and anti-inflammatory properties. So it's cool. So I started taking it, and I played 4.5 months of the professional baseball season with a 90% rotator tear and a labral tear with, I'll say, virtually no pain, because the only time I'd have pain is when I'd slide head first. I stole 55 bases that year, and every time I'd slide head first, my arm would go numb for a minute. I'd just shake it out and keep playing. But I didn't have to have any anti-inflammatories or any of the pain meds. So I didn't have any of that, no cortisone or anything. So it showed that not only was I able to play with the injury, but my legs, my body, I was getting looser faster. I was recovering faster. I mean, I was a 3-hour foam roll and stretch band guy a day. Yeah. And I was always achy, and my body just wasn't feeling great. Yeah. Let alone you play 160 to 180 games a year. That'll wear on you. But I was starting to notice, man, it takes me 10 throws to get loose. And I felt like I was 15, where I go out and just strap them on and a few jogs, and I'm like, wow, I felt really, really good. And I started having some of my teammates try this, and consistently, dude, my knee feels amazing. I haven't felt like this in years, and my shoulder's recovering from, I pitched last night, and I feel like I can go pitch again today. So it was unique. It was just unique to be a part of something that was helping people, and my own personal feelings of what I was going through. And then we started experimenting. My dog had an arthritic hip, and she was limping, and said she was supposed to be on pain meds the rest of her life. So we'd start putting capsules and powders in her food. And within weeks, her limp went away. Yeah. And it was just really, really fun to see that the power of food really was evident. And then I had my surgery, and I had 7 anchors put in my shoulder, and they repaired my labrum. And I was told, you're going to miss the whole season. 10 to 12 months, you're out. And that's where I found Dave Plumet and Shoreline CrossFit. I just walked in and during my rehab, and he's like, I'll train you. Yeah. So that's where I found CrossFit. And I started kind of just passing the product to him and a couple of the other trainers, and
like white label.
That's it. Just here you go, and let me know what you think. Yeah. And it was cool because back in the day, it was carrying around the Costco brand, like massive ibuprofen bottles, and that's the only way that you could survive these workouts. So they were having their own experience, and obviously my direct goal was just, I got to get back and play.
Yeah.
So all this stuff that was happening was really cool. And then I was on the field one day, and well, there's two parts of the story, but I'll give the one. I was on the field, and as an entrepreneur, starting to think, man, I could help a lot of people. There's no reason that everyone shouldn't be on this.
Yeah.
So I started formulating this concept in my head about starting a company, and
then fly balls or shagging fly balls in the outfit. Literally,
legitimately, that's what was going on.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how an entrepreneur's mindset is. I mean, I'll be in the middle of a workout and I'll forget that I'm even doing a workout, and I'll be thinking of this like great idea that maybe I can work off of and build. So that's funny that you say that. But yeah, literally flagging shagging fly balls out there. Yep.
And during pitching changes, the guy who was playing right or left, Danny Putnam, who now I'm business partners with, during a pitching change, we would talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, but
yeah.
So the point is, the orthopedic surgeon who did my surgery, who noticed that I recovered in 5 months and played opening day after I was supposed to miss 10 to 12, started to give it to his patients as a test.
Your orthopedic?
My orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
Because he saw my results. He's done thousands of probably shoulder surgeries and had not seen anyone recover as fast as I did.
Yeah.
Couldn't even believe I was playing with the injury after he got the MRI results. But he started giving it to his patients as a test trial. And the patients were calling to practice, thanking the doc and saying, oh my God, thank you so much. Where can I get more of this? So he came in and he said, something feels different. He goes, normally people call to ask for more pain meds, like the hardcore drugs, or to complain about surgery. So here he's coming and saying, this just feels really good.
Yeah.
And it was that defining moment of, oh my God, we have a product that can impact people's lives and change the way that they view medicine even, and just have such a positive effect on so many people that Luorong Living was born.
Yeah, I mean, I was introduced to Luorong Living at its infancy as well. So I'll tell my story with that real quick, even though we're kind of talking about you. But I mean,
we love to hear from you.
Yeah, we love to talk about it. This is my show. I might as well give. I mean, I knew when I was going to have Adam on that I wasn't going to say much, so I just I'll kind of talk about it. Yeah, the product to me, how it affected me was. Dave Plumet from Shoreline CrossFit had just given it to me and one of my business partners at the time. Said, "Hey, try this stuff out." And I was skeptical. I'm skeptical about anything. I've been in the fitness industry and nutrition and around this now, a very long time. We're talking 15 something years, and I've seen everything come and go, supplements and this, that, and the other thing. But it happened to be the right time that I needed to try something because I had blown my back out. I ruptured my L4. And I had 2 bulges in my L5, like a straight herniation, and it was bad. I mean, I couldn't pick up a pen, I couldn't do anything. Getting prescribed Vicodin, and that's not one of those things you want to sit there and be taking all the time. I'm not someone who's a drug user, so for me, it was like, do I really want to be taking this stuff all the time? And that, forget the Vicodin, but that on top of anti-inflammatories and all that other stuff, I was ruining my stomach. So Dave Plumet had given it to me, and I started taking it, and slowly, just make it quick, I started getting off of the Vicodin, and all I was taking was Luorong Living, and it wasn't even Luorong at that time yet, and my back wasn't bothering me anymore. It wasn't that it wasn't even bothering me. I was working out and getting back to lifting to the numbers that I never thought I'd be able to lift again once I injured my back that way. So from there, I kind of was like, well, introduce me to this guy, Adam. I need to see what this is all about. And, we kind of developed a friendship, and it's been like that ever since. So that's just kind of my experience with Luorong. So we'll put up a little plug in. Guys, LuorongLiving.com. Tell you what, I've got a lot of people on it. Look it up online, and I always tell people to research stuff first, but I tell you what, if you have any problems and if you take any kind of medication over the counter, get rid of it and start getting on this stuff immediately. If you have any arthritis or just aches, pains, whatever, just get on it. Will be one of the most beneficial products you'll ever be on, and it's healthy. It's whole foods. It's not man-made supplement in a lab somewhere. So take us through Luorong Living. Now I want a quick book, author. So you decided to write this book. This is the book here, guys. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's called Get Up. And it kind of just talks about, so you guys got like the speed version of everything just now in this book. But talk about the book and why you put the book out. Like what was the goal behind the book?
So with Blue Wrong Living, it's awesome to be able to change people's physical body, like how they feel on a day-to-day basis, not just the product, but we run national nutrition challenges. We give people the education that I'd never had.
Yeah.
And not just don't do this, but why, and then how to make it be a sustainable lifestyle. So just like what we're doing here and what you're trying to do is not just direct and tell somebody what to do, but say, here are the tools, now you can go and apply them.
Yep.
So as my life has kind of evolved, I was an entertainer.
Yeah.
That's what an athlete is.
Absolutely.
We're entertainers, and that's awesome, and you get to escape reality when you go and watch. And then as Blue Wrong Living kind of happened, it was like, wow, I get to affect somebody's physical body and the quality of their life, like pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And we've run almost 100,000 people through our nutrition challenge platform. I mean, like things that are far outweigh how many people I've impacted
as a
baseball player. So as I started going around telling my story and doing some speaking engagements and just talking to kids and adults and really people of all ages, just to connect with people on an emotional human level as well was really, really powerful. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, I can talk to a group of people for an hour or 45 minutes and answer some questions and spend some time, or do a podcast or sell products, right? All those things, they're all awesome, but a book was a way that I could connect with people on a much larger scale, because what we just went over, it sounds like, oh, well, I was a big leaguer and then I had a couple things happen and then I got called back up to the big leagues and now I have a successful company, right? If you break it down, it's like, well, that's
pretty cool. Most people would be like pumped.
It's pretty cool, but what there's not that personal connection of, okay, how do people relate to that and say, well, okay, that's great, but that doesn't apply to my life.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because you had just said Blue Wrong Living impacted so many people, more people than as a baseball player, but now you're taking the baseball player in this book and impacting people again. And probably even more than what Lou Wrong will ever impact. I mean, I'm telling you what, you got to pick up this book and take a look at this and read his story. And we talked about it a little bit, but like you said, that kind of, as soon as you said to me, oh, Lou Wrong impacted so many more people than I could as the baseball player, I think that this book is going to impact more people as the baseball player, which is awesome, because I always think people can relate to other people's experiences. You know, nobody's the same person, but people go through the same things, whether it's on the scale of being a major league baseball player, professional athlete, or being a housewife. You know what I mean? We still go through the same things. There's still things that pop up that we can't control, but how do we change that and keep moving forward and ultimately be positive and be successful? And like you said, you took something like an injury in baseball, and now you're impacting people's lives. So what else talk a little bit more about it.
Well, so the title of the book is everything. And it's Get Up, but it's the art of perseverance. And when I give my speeches and I usually talk, there's one thing that I try to remember always, and we talk about gifts. I mean, everyone's been given a gift at one way or another.
Absolutely.
Some people can run fast, jump high, throw the ball hard, lift a ton of weight. Some people are speed readers. Some people are great at math. Like at some level, everyone has been given some type of a gift.
Yep.
But there's one that every single person shares. That's one gift that every single person shares, and nobody ever thinks about it because it's just taken for granted. But if you don't train any of those other gifts, it's like it goes away. There's no point of ever having it. The gift that everyone shares is the gift of perseverance. So everyone has it, and I'll debate it to the end of the time. But the reason that I can say that is because every day that we can get up, we've overcome something. We've overcome some obstacles. And we wouldn't be here as humanity if we didn't have that ability to overcome obstacles and challenges and persevere through tough times. But it's also, I kind of put it in the form of a gift, because if you don't work at it, what's the point of having it? If you put your head down and say, poor me, I can't, feel sorry for yourself all the time, well, that only goes so far, because now you've just thrown away one of the coolest gifts you've ever been given. So getting up is obviously, the title is, and there's a picture of me laying on the ground. Obviously, I had to get myself up in that situation, but we have that challenge every single day. We have to get ourselves up, or we have to be there to help somebody get up when they're going through some tough times. So the substance of the book is really, if you're a baseball fan or not, it doesn't matter. If you're a sports fan or not, it doesn't matter. There's, of course, baseball, because that's part of my life. But
absolutely. The message from anybody, it doesn't matter who you are. There's a message in there that's powerful. Like you said, the message that you're going to get out of the book is, perseverance and how to train that.
Yeah, and you said it though. I'm only 36 years old, but in the sports world, you're 36 years old.
You're retired. You're like ancient.
But the thing is, there's been so many life situations that I've gone through, and I mean, things that most people will probably read and say, oh my God, I would have had no idea. And those are the things, it's just being able to relate to someone with one thing. You don't have to say, well, I didn't go here, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do. No, it's one. What is that one thing? And for me, it's, well, have you ever had surgery? Have you ever been injured? Have you ever lost somebody? Have you ever seen somebody die? Have you ever filed bankruptcy? Have you ever been released or told you weren't good enough? I can keep going. Yeah. So, but those are the things where it's like, if any of those things, and then some would catch somebody's attention, well, it's all there. And when I talk, I usually kind of explain, I had the best thing in the entire world for me.
Yeah.
And at the exact same instance, I had the worst possible thing happen.
Yeah.
And that's 12 years ago. And now I look back and I say, the best thing in my life was matched with the greatest gift I was ever given. So if I locked it up and didn't talk about it, or didn't kind of try to help other people, it would have been all for nothing. So I'm 100% agreeing that what we go through is, everything is an opportunity to then help and impact and change somebody's life. So, and there's a couple examples in the book, but one specifically is, I know what I went through was worth it, because there's one kid that did not commit suicide who's on this earth because of my story and the connection that I made with him. You can't, nothing, that's it.
There's no monetary value. There's no value. I mean, if you impact a human life, I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. And understand this, if you're listening or you're paying attention, every single person out there watching this in this world has some sort of experience that they can help somebody else with. We all do. Everybody goes through different things. We all overcome small obstacles, large obstacles. Nobody's perfect. Everybody gets stuff thrown at them every day, and everybody overcomes something. Okay, and that experience you can help someone else with. So again, we're in a society right now where everybody's so closed-minded, everybody is ignorant, and there's a lot of things going on in this world that aren't great. But understand this, everybody out there can impact somebody. And pull that out of yourself to help somebody else. Instead of bring someone down, help bring them up through an experience. Pay attention. Listen to what people are saying. I guarantee you that there's somebody out there's life you can change. And once you do that, I tell you what, it's probably the most powerful thing you'll ever go through. And it's what keeps me, in this industry of health and wellness, because just hearing people's stories about, getting off of, or have had heart attacks and walking and running and doing things that they never thought they'd be able to do, or, people in their family who haven't even made it past like 60 and they're 70 years old still working out and grinding, or, I could go stories forever, but just hearing those stories and impacting other people's lives, to me, is the most powerful thing I can do. And it makes me feel good about what I do, and the reasons why I keep getting up every morning and doing it.
So I'm going to give you one, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So then we can close with this if that's all right.
We're gonna wrap up.
So you said earlier, if you can impact one person's life and one person goes to 2 and 2 to 4, if that number started at 1 today and doubled every single day for 30 days or 31 days, what's that worth? How many people?
I don't know that number, but I will tell you this number, okay, because I researched it, because I think about it all the time. If you impact, so I don't know that number.
Well, guess. That's what we're doing.
Oh, you're in the millions.
So 1 doubles to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. So after 5 days, you're only at 16.
Yeah, but
so
then it keeps
31
doubling.
days.
So I know that in 20 years, so you're over at 1 million, because in 20 years, if you impact 2 people a year, just say 2 people this year, and you encourage them to impact 2 other people, in 20 years, if that keeps going, you're over 1,495,000. Don't quote me on it 100%, but I've done the math because I think about it all the time. Like, all you have to do is impact 2 people and tell each one of them to try to impact someone else's life. What's the number? Over 10 million. Yeah, because it's just, but
it's the point of what you do. It matters.
It makes a difference, and I try to get that across to people all the time. And people make fun of me because I'm like a motivating person in the gym, or like it doesn't matter. It could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. People who know me, I get in the gym and I'm like, Monday, best day of the week, or like Wednesday, best day of the week. And some people go, why do you do that? Like, why do you do that to me? Like, because if I can do that to you, maybe in 2 years from now, it finally clicks in your head and you do that to somebody else, and then they think differently about their day every single day, and it was all worth it. So again, I appreciate you throwing that out there, because I'm passionate about that. I mean, it seems so minuscule, but everybody can make a difference in this world. Just try to be positive and help people out and listen to people. That's another thing people don't do, is listen. They're so quick to talk, but listen to people. I'm telling you, your experiences can change other people's lives. Just like Adam's book, everything he's been through is going to change a lot of lives. That's why I needed him on this show. I reached out to him. I was so excited that he said yes, he's going to come on this show, because I know there are people out there who are going to get this book, or who's going to listen to something that we talked about, and it's going to change them. So again, I thank you guys for listening. Adam, I thank you so much for coming on this show. Until next time, guys, thank you.